Hey, thanks for swinging in for a little THD. On today's video, I'm going to share with you my recipe for homemade potato salad made with our farm fresh eggs that we have right here on our own farm. So if you're interested in the recipe, grab a pen and paper. First things first, I had to gather the eggs out of the chicken and the duck coops. Once we brought them in, we needed to wash them off. It's really important that we make sure to wash the eggs before we store them in the fridge or on the cabinets or boil them or use them in any way, because we don't want any of that icky stuff from the coop or the chickens contaminating any of our food or work surfaces. Once all the eggs are washed, I go ahead and fill a pan with water, set the eggs in, and put them on the stove to boil. To hard boil an egg, it takes approximately 20 minutes. If you overcook your boiled eggs, you'll get that dark green ring around the yolk, and so we want to be careful not to overcook them. While I've got them on the stove to boil, I'm going to set my timer and get my other pan so that I can begin to get the potatoes ready while the eggs are boiling. So I get my larger pan, fill it full of water, and put some salt in, probably a tablespoon, maybe 2, into the water. Then I pull out the potatoes and scrub them off. And then I'll begin to peel them. Now, I've seen some potato salads, and I think they're really delicious, where people leave the skins on. But these potatoes are a little bit older, and so the skin I don't think would taste very good in them. So I'm going to go ahead and just peel all the potatoes ahead of time. I'm just kind of estimating with all my measurements and amounts. I'm kind of that cook that just does what I think looks good or tastes good at the moment. But I would say I've got probably 5 to 7 pounds of potatoes that I used for this batch, and probably 12 or 15 eggs is what I boiled. So once I'm all done peeling them, I rinse them off really quick in the strainer and then just slice them up and put them in the boiling water. I try not to make the potatoes too small, because then they have a tendency to overcook and get mushy. And I do not like mushy potatoes in potato salad. Okay, so while the potatoes are boiling, I'm going to go ahead and shred some cheese. I know this is not a common ingredient when it comes to your basic potato salad, but we really kind of like it. Another ingredient I love to add is bacon that I fried up and just crumbled. But I don't have bacon today, so I won't be using that. But that is an option. So I put my grated cheese, probably about a cup and a half, into my big bowl. And then I put frozen peas. This, again, is another ingredient that isn't very common, but it makes a delicious potato salad. When I put the peas in here, you have to make sure that they are frozen, and toss up the cheese and the peas and stick them back in the fridge so that the cheese doesn't stick together or become mushy. Then I use my Best Foods real mayonnaise, and I get about 3.5, 4 cups of mayo, and I whip it all up. and get it nice and creamy, and it kind of thins it out a little bit. Then I add probably 2 or 3 tablespoons of mustard. You can use any kind of mustard you want, and that will alter the flavor a little bit of your potato salad. These are all of the herbs that I've used, and I'll kind of list them as we go through. So I have all my herbs here, and I also have some that are store-bought in smaller containers. But this is where I keep most of my cooking herbs at. So I'm going to grab some rubbed sage and some thyme as well. I use probably a teaspoon of each, and then I kind of taste it as I go along to see if I want to add a little bit more of this or a little bit more of that. I used sea salt, a few pinches of that is all that you need, and I just sprinkled that right on top, making sure to stir it up and whip it up completely in between every 1 or 2 ingredients that I add. I'm also adding in some dill weed, and I sprinkle a few shakes on there. And then I also sprinkle on some paprika and whip it all up once again. I also used a few shakes of pepper at some point in this whole thing. That's another spice I used. You can use any spice you want, just kind of do it to taste. Now the potatoes are done cooking, so I go ahead and strain them into the sink and into the strainer. Something that has worked really well for me, and that I always do when making potato salad, is I never run cold water over them. I always allow them to just cool at room temperature for a few hours. I know that makes it take a little bit longer, but it works out better, I think, in my opinion. So I allow the potatoes and the eggs to cool completely at room temperature before I proceed. When the steam has completed and there's no more steam coming off of them, that's when I know they're ready to use. Then I begin to crack the eggs. And there's several different ways people can crack eggs. You can roll them like that and crunch all the shell and peel it off. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. You can also split them in half with your knife and take them out like that. People have all sorts of tricks of peeling eggs. In the comments below, let me know, how do you peel your eggs? Once the eggs are all peeled, I use a pastry cutter to kind of slice them up and squish them up before I put them into the potato salad bowl. I've used lots of different ways. You can use a fork, you can use a knife and chop them. I just found that the pastry cutter seems to get them really uniform, and I kind of like that, and it makes them easy to do. And that's what it looks like after I'm done. So then I take this plate of eggs and I put them in with the chilled cheese and peas that are still pretty much frozen, and I start on the potatoes. And I begin to chop those up into bite-sized pieces. And once I'm all done chopping those up, I go ahead and put the potatoes in the bowl with the chilled cheese and peas and eggs. And then I completely mix it all up so that it's really evenly distributed. And then I can add my mayo mix. If you have mayonnaise and it's a little bit too thick and you want it a little bit thinner to help it cover and coat everything a little bit easier, you can mix a splash or two of milk in it, and that can help. And then I just stir it thoroughly. And again, as you go, as you're making this, always do it to taste. Stop what you're doing and taste the potato salad every once in a while, or the creamy mayo mixture that you're going to add in, and just kind of see what it tastes like and see what you feel like it might still need. There's so many different options that you can add. Seasoned salts, garlic powder, all different. It just depends on people and what their tastes are. So now you can see it's all coming together really nicely. And I added a little bit more paprika here and stirred it again. And just made sure that I got it all stirred in there really well. And then to finish it off, I sprinkled a tiny bit more paprika over the top, and I secured the lid on to place it inside of the fridge. And I let it chill for several hours. Potato salad is really the very best the second day after you've made it. We didn't want to wait till the next day, so we let it chill for several hours and then dished us up a nice heaping plateful for dinner. I hope you've enjoyed watching this video of my potato salad recipe. And if you end up making this, I would love for you to leave a comment below letting me know what you thought of it and how it turned out. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day.